Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a prediction at the upcoming NFL season, otherwise known as the Super Bowl 55 season. Now, for this prediction, I'm only going to be doing records and who makes the playoffs and what seed they make it. I will be doing another prediction, however, it'll be like in a month or so at May, where I'll go in depth through every game, go through all the schedule, talk about MVP, playoffs, everything. This is just going to be the standings I think is going to happen. Keep in mind, these can change because we don't have the draft yet. I haven't looked at the schedules. Schedules haven't even been released. Free agency isn't over. Like Cam Newton hasn't been picked up yet. We don't know who's going to go. So what I'm trying to say is these records might change in an upcoming date. So we'll start with the AFC North. The AFC North should be pulled up right now. Here we go. Okay, so start with the bottom one, the Bengals. I don't think the Bengals are going to change that much. You know, you can add a quarterback like Joe Burrow or any quarterback, and it's not going to do much for you. Look at these other teams that picked up quarterbacks in the last few years. You know, Sam Darnold's good, but were the Jets amazing team right when they picked him up? No. So Bengals, I see 4-12, not making the playoffs, of course. Now this next one is going to be a surprising one. Matter of fact, I might get hate for this one. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, yes, they have Juju. Yes, Roethlisberger. Yes, DeCastro. Yes, they have a good team, but this is just going to be a down year for the Steelers. I can feel it. Pieces are missing. They're kind of struggling. They're kind of falling apart, but what I know is that they'll rebound. I think this is an off year for the Steelers. 6-10 will not make playoffs. Okay, up next, it had to come here sooner or later, the Browns. Now, I don't see the Browns being the top-tier heavy dog team that everybody thinks they might be like last year. This year, I see them going, you know, decent, almost mediocre, a little above average. You know, their offense is great. Their offense better be good, you know, the good additions they had. But their defense is, it's a different story. So, with the addition of Austin Hooper, it's all up to Baker Mayfield to lead this offense. It's all up to him. That's how good they're going to go. So, I see the Browns going 9-7, and yes, they'll slip right into the playoffs at the 7th seed. Yes, they are 7 seeds now. And on top of the AFC North, no surprise here, the Baltimore Ravens going 12-4. Yes, they'll make the playoffs at 2. I don't think there's much change for them. Lamar Jackson will still be Lamar Jackson. This team will still be the same team. Nothing changed for the Ravens. That's the AFC North. Upcoming, the AFC East. And we start at the bottom of the AFC East with the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets, they do have Jamal Adams, Le'Veon Bell, Sam Darnold. Okay, they have big names, but do I think it'll work out? Not really. I just don't see the Jets being anything. Really, they can't get together anything going. Nothing's going right for them. I see 3-13 for them not making playoffs. Oh, next is the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins, you know, they have pieces they need to fill, and hopefully they can fill them in draft. They already picked up Brian Jones, which is a good pick for free agency, but will I think this will be enough? Just like the Bengals, I don't think getting a quarterback will be enough for the Dolphins just to go, you know, 10-6 out of nowhere. I think it will take time. I think this is just going to be a year where they're slowly starting to get better. I'll say 5-11 for them. No, they're not making the playoffs. Now, this next one, here it is. It had to come sooner or later. The New England Patriots. Okay, so this one's a fun one to talk about, considering we all know what happened. Tom Brady's no longer there. How are they going to function without Tom Brady? So, I don't see their defense being bad. I got to give it to the Patriots. Their defense has been really good these last few years. Now, however, for their offense, though, who knows how good their offense is going to be. Without Tom Brady, the receivers are You know, they've had good receivers every now and then, but now the receivers are like alright, other than Julian Edelman. And their quarterback system, we don't know what's next. Belichick, he's going to be a pretty good quarterback, or coach. I just don't know if he'll be able to coach into a new quarterback to being just as good as Brady for the first year. So I think their defense is what's really going to help the Patriots out here. I see them going mediocre, 8-8. No, they will not make the playoffs this year. And on top of the AFC East, it's one of my favorite teams, actually. It's not my favorite team, but it's a team I'm really looking forward to, is the Buffalo Bills. Now, Buffalo Bills, I gotta say, really have an underrated trio coming. We have Josh Allen, which is one of my favorite quarterbacks right now. Singletary, great underrated running back. And now you add addition to Stephon Diggs. Plus, their defense. Their defense was great last year. Might be even better this year. I see 12-4 record for the Buffalo Bills. And yes, they'll make the playoffs as the 3 seed. Okay, we start at the bottom of the AFC South with no other than the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do I have to say anything for this? They lost Nick Foles, which was their only hope. I want to say Minshew Mania is going to do something, but that's it. Leonard Fournette's kind of washed. The Jaguars are going to be the worst team this year, in my opinion. 2-14. Of course, they're not making the playoffs. Up next, this one's a weird one to talk about because the Texans. Now, you're probably saying the Texans, they only lost DeAndre Hopkins. They still have Deshaun Watson. They still have J.J. Watt. Yes, I know. But their team is always hit by injury, and I just don't see their team being the same without DeAndre Hopkins. I want to say Deshaun Watson's going to have an MVP year, but at the same time, I don't know if his team's going to allow that. I think the Texans are going to go 6-10, not making playoffs. Right above the Texans is the Colts. Now, the Colts, they would have been good last year if Andrew Luck didn't retire of no side at all. So, I think the Colts are still a good team without that quarterback. But now you add Phillip Rivers, which opened up or filled that opening that you had. And now this team's going to be complete again. 10-6, yes, they will make the playoffs as the 6th seed. And on top of the AFC South, the Titans. The Titans, which were okay in the season, but really good in the postseason last year. I think they will fix it up, and now they have a good season to go into the postseason. 11-5 record for them, and they'll make the playoffs as the 4th seed. The final AFC division, the AFC West. We'll start at the bottom with the LA Chargers. You know, you lose Phillip Rivers. This team wasn't that good this last year, even with Phillip Rivers. I don't see much if they go with Tyrod Taylor. Who knows? They could get Cam Newton, and they could be really good. So, of course, that's why I want to make another prediction video later down the road. But for now, I see them going 3-13, not making playoffs. Right above them, this one's going to be a hard one to say because I know I might get hate for this one. But the Broncos, I think people want the Broncos to be good this year, and I think they might. But I just don't really see it in them. You know, Philip Lindsay, Drew Lock, I don't know. 5-11 for the Broncos. I just don't think there's any completion for them. Above the Broncos, I have to put my standout team this year. I think this team's going to be like the 49ers of last season, except not as good. The Raiders. The Raiders are an underrated underdog team. They picked up Mariota. I think Mariota has a lot to prove because he's on the bench. Ryan Tannehill will take a spot. So I think they'll have a good season. I think the Raiders will win this draft. They'll get a good draft pick. And I think they'll become a complete team this year. Yes, they'll make the playoffs at 10-6 with the 5th seed. And above the Raiders, no other than the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs will be even better. I see them one game better at 13-3. They'll get the 1st seed of the playoffs. Of course, they'll make it. You know, Patrick Mahomes, he'll just do what he always does. You got new additions like McCall Hardman, hopefully will break out, and even more rookies to pick up. Tyreek Hill to do even better. So I think this team is just as complete as they were last season, maybe even better, and I see a good future down the road starting here. That's the AFC. Okay, we start the NFC with the NFC North. Let's start with the bottom. The Detroit Lions. Now, I don't see much of the Detroit Lions. You know, they go for free agency, and they always just seem to just get some washed Patriot players. Never works out for them, and they never really can win the draft. I don't see much of the Lions. I see a little bit of improvement, but their future, it's you know. So, no, of course, no playoffs at 5-11. Above the Lions, I'm going to put a team which might get some hate, especially, of course, if you're a fan of this team, but the Chicago Bears. Now, the Chicago Bears, good pickups, you can say. Jimmy Graham, Nick Foles, okay, yeah, but Jimmy Graham wasn't the same he was a few years ago, and Nick Foles, the same thing. So I don't think the Chicago Bears are going to be better with these picks, and their defense slowly going down. I think they're just going to be a little bit worse than they were last year at 7-9. No, they won't make the playoffs. Now above the Bears, I have to put the Minnesota Vikings. This team, once again, I want to say the same thing just as the Bears. They lose people, they try to gain some people, they don't really seem to get any better. Matter of fact, they might be getting worse. I don't see much future for Kirk Cousins. He's an okay quarterback. You know, he had the quarterback rating. You know, that's a good thing, but I don't see much from him. 8-8 for the Vikings is what I see. No, once again, they will not make the playoffs. At the top of the NFC North, I gotta put the Green Bay Packers at 10-6. Now, this whole division, I think it's gonna be hard to win. So whoever wins it, really, is gonna be close. The Packers were really lucky to go 13-3 last year, so I see them basically the same team, but I'll see them going 10-6 just to be a little worse because they didn't really deserve 13 wins last year. So the Packers, they will make the playoffs as the 3rd seed. And we enter the NFC East. Let's start with the bottom. We have the Washington Redskins. Once again, I don't see much future for this team with just a draft. They didn't win free agency. They didn't get anything out of free agency, and they're just going to get 1 or 2 draft picks, and that's it. Maybe I see them going 1 or 2 more games better. So I'll go 4-12 for the Redskins, and no, of course, no playoffs. The next team, however, the Giants, which were at the Redskins level last year, I think they're slowly climbing their way back. You know, you got Daniel Jones, pretty decent quarterback actually, and then you got Saquon Barkley, really good running back, and your receivers, they're getting better. I don't really know the receivers, to be honest, but their offense is building. Their defense, don't know about their defense, so I'll give them 7-9. No playoffs, of course. Now above the Giants, they gotta come here sooner or later. A lot of people are gonna say this, the Cowboys. The Cowboys are like, or people are saying is the Cowboys gonna be the worst team. You can't really say that. The Cowboys offense is just, it's pretty good. You know, it's not a bad offense. It's a good offense. And their defense is what's really missing. And Jason Garrett. Firing of Jason Garrett, it's going to be hard to feel the head coach and how the team is going to work together. Team chemistry might be a big problem for the Cowboys. I'll give them 9-7, and yes, they'll make the playoffs just barely as a 7th seed. And above the Cowboys is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles, actually tying the record, but I think they'll win the tiebreaker at 9-7. And I just see the Eagles being the same. I don't see much different. Hopefully Carson Wentz can stay healthy this year. Hopefully, that's the key word. And I'll give them, yes, playoffs, 4th seed. Okay, the NFC South. This has been a tough division for years. It's been a really fun division for years. But this time it's going to be a little bit different. The bottom feeder, the Carolina Panthers. I don't see much. Losing Cam Newton was bad enough. Forcing him to leave, actually. You know, you got CMC, you got Kyle Allen. Is that enough? No, not really. Luke Kuechly retires. The Panthers are falling apart. 3-13. No, not to make the playoffs. They'll get like a top 5 draft pick at least. Above the Panthers is the Falcons. Now the Falcons, I want to say, have one of the best offensive trios, but it's really going to come down to one factor for the Falcons, and that's Matt Ryan. You know, you got Julio Jones, you got Todd Gurley, and your defense is okay. You really got to depend on Matt Ryan. He's not the same quarterback he was a few years ago. It's all up to him to put the Falcons in this really tough division. And I see the Falcons just being just decent, mediocre, 8-8, no playoffs. The Falcons once again. Now here we go. We get into the Buccaneers. I'm not really living off the Buccaneers hype like crazily, but I do think the Buccaneers will be good. And people are saying Tom Brady's washed. He's not going to be the same. It's just basically going to be Michael Jordan on the Wizards washed. Now, I know what you're trying to say there, and yes, I can see that, but you got to take into consideration the Buccaneers were actually a really good team last year. The only problem holding them down was Jameis Winston. They were good. They had a great defense, and they had a decent offense with Jameis Winston. Now you just replace Jameis Winston with Tom Brady, who's going to be throwing darts to Godwin and Evans, the best receivers on the Buccaneers, of course, and they're really good receivers in the whole entire league. You're talking about a heavy offense and a heavy defense. Now, I do see some problems with chemistry and how they work together and how they become a team as whole. So, I see the Buccaneers going 9-7, and they'll make the playoffs as the 6th seed. And above the Buccaneers, it's no other than the New Orleans Saints. You know, you're even thirstier for the playoffs this time. You're going to be the best team ever. Because you got screwed over the last 2 years, you want to win it all this year, and they're going to be great this season. They're going to lose one game. They'll probably lose the last game because they're not going to try. I think they'll see 14-2 for them because you still got Drew Brees, you still got Michael Thomas, you got Alvin Kamara, you got everything you need to be the same team but better. The first seed in the NFC, yes, makes the playoffs, goes to the New Orleans Saints. And our final division, the NFC West, will start with the Arizona Cardinals. Now the Arizona Cardinals got a steal for DeAndre Hopkins and got Kenny Drake, or I don't know how to say it, was it Kenny? I don't really know how you say his last or first name. I don't even know his first name. And then you got Kyler Murray, which is a great quarterback, and I see a better future for them. However, that's it. That's all I can say for the Cardinals. I know you got Larry Fitzgerald too, but is the Cardinals' defense and coaching system enough to handle that heavy offensive power? No, not really. 6-10. I think next year, though, they'll be really good. No playoffs for the Cardinals. They could prove me wrong, though, however. This next one might get hate. I think you gotta hear me out on this one. The Rams, 7-9. Yes, they got a new stadium. Yes, they get new jerseys. Yes, they get a whole new look. Yes, they got Jared Goff, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. You know, of course, they lost Todd Gurley, but Todd Gurley wasn't that much. Don't think they're the same. You know, Jared Goff's not the same quarterback he was in years. The Rams are just going to be missing something, and I think, once again, down year. They'll be better soon. Rams, once again, tough division, too. It's going to be hard to win games. 7-9, no, will not make the playoffs. And above the Rams, I'm going to put the San Francisco 49ers. I think they'll rebound from their Super Bowl loss. They'll still be the same good team they were last year. Just a little worse, 2 games worse, 11-5. Yes, they'll make the playoffs as the 5 seed. Now, above the 49ers, the top of the NFC West is the Seahawks. This is the year the Seahawks will shine once again in the NFC West. Once again, they're not the Legion of Boom they were, but they're still a really good team, a young team in the making, led by a veteran, Russell Wilson. And once again, the running back's back. You know, what's his name? I already forgot. Marshawn Lynch, that's right, Marshawn Lynch. I don't really know if it's going to do much for them, but, they got a good offense building. Their defense is decent, and I think the Seahawks will be the best team in the NFC West, going 12-4, just one game better than the 49ers. Yes, they'll make the playoffs as the 2 seed. And just to recap, we'll go over the playoffs real quick and the seeds. For the AFC, the first is the Chiefs, Ravens are 2, Bills at 3, Titans at 4, Raiders at 5, Colts at 6, and 7 at Browns. Also, sorry if this looks kind of ugly, I just gotta make this in 2 seconds. And now to the NFC. First seed is the Saints, second seed is the Seahawks, 3 Packers, 4 Eagles, 5 49ers, 6 Buccaneers, and 7 Cowboys. Okay, so that's my predictions just by records. Once again, like I said, I'll be doing an updated version around in May. Thank you guys for watching. If you want opinions, please comment them down below, or I would like to hear your opinions on what I'm meant to say. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Deansworld. I'll see you guys later.